Hello and welcome to Fruits of the Spirit. Today I'm doing a question, and that question is, are you like Jonah? Jonah is one of those biblical characters that we can learn a lot from by studying their story. The decisions they took, the statements they uttered, the good things they did, and the mistakes they made can inspire us to seek the face of God in our lives. In this video, I would like to discuss 4 things we learn from the story of Jonah. Some we should copy, and some we should not. Through this, we can find out if we are like Jonah, and if so, what that means. The first thing I want to highlight in Jonah's story is the way he approached the instructions God gave to him. In Jonah chapter 1 verse 2, God told Jonah to travel to Nineveh and preach to its inhabitants as a warning before he would execute judgment. Rather than doing as God had asked, he decided to travel in the opposite direction, to Tarshish, via a ship. Now this may look like outright disobedience, but if we read Jonah chapter 4, we'll discover that Jonah did this because he felt that God would forgive them anyway, and so there was no point in preaching. Consider his words in Jonah chapter 4 verse 2. And he prayed unto the Lord, and said, I pray thee, O Lord, was not this my saying, when I was yet in my country? Therefore I fled before unto Tarshish, for I knew that thou art a gracious God, and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and repentest thee of the evil. In other words, he questioned the propriety of God's instructions. He was not the only individual to do this. In 1 Samuel chapter 15, King Saul did not obey God's instructions in killing all the Amalekites because he felt it was unreasonable to kill all those good-looking cattle that the Amalekites had. However, King Saul was a wicked man, but Jonah was not, for reasons I will get into later. The second thing worth pointing out is that after Jonah eventually did the work of God, he didn't give God the room to decide how he wanted to use that work. What I mean is that when God decided to forgive the people, as Jonah had predicted from the beginning, Jonah felt that he had wasted his time because God did not act on his words. What we should learn from this is that if God Almighty gives us work to do, a good attitude to have is to do the work and let God decide what he wants to do with it. To give you a good example, if you're a business owner and you have employees, your idea is that after the employees have done the job you've given them, you will now decide what you want to do with the profits, right? You probably wouldn't like it if your employee felt that they had a better idea as to how the profits should be managed than you, the business owner. Jesus Christ said in Luke chapter 17 verse 10 that our concern should end when we've done what God has asked. So likewise ye, when ye shall have done all those things which I commanded you, say, we are unprofitable servants. We have done that which was our duty to do. Luke chapter 17 verse 10. So in the case of Jonah, he should have preached as God instructed, and let God decide whether he wanted to punish the Ninevites or forgive them. That should not have been his concern. In addition, wanting sinners punished might not be the best way to approach things, as God is interested in everyone's salvation, according to 1 Timothy chapter 2 verses 3 to 4 and Luke chapter 15 verse 7. The way Moses behaved is better, in Exodus chapter 32 verses 9 to 14. Even when the Israelites were misbehaving, he interceded on their behalf and begged God to spare their lives. But let's not think that Jonah is an unrighteous man because of this. Far from it. One great thing we can extract from this story, which may boost our faith, is Jonah's strong understanding of who God is. I referenced Jonah chapter 4 verse 2 earlier. Jonah understood God's mercy and how it worked, which is why he knew that God would forgive them. Another instance that shows Jonah's deep knowledge of God is when he was on the ship and the seas began to roar and move violently. Rather than leaving the crew members in confusion, he told them point blank that he was the issue, and they could save their lives by tossing him over. It takes knowledge to draw such a conclusion. Understanding God to this extent is key to building a good relationship with Him, and many righteous figures in the Bible demonstrated such understanding. One striking example is the way David responded to Shimei's cursing in 2 Samuel chapter 16 verses 5 to 14. Rather than retaliating, as one of his men, Abishai, had suggested, he let Shimei curse and throw stones at him, because he had the understanding that he was under God's punishment for taking Uriah's wife and killing him. If he didn't have such knowledge, he would have cut off his head and made attempts to become king again by force. Lastly, Jonah did not have a bad mind towards God's work, as can be seen by his change of heart and mind when he was in the fish's belly. He eventually did what God asked him to do. He was not like King Saul, who did not do what God asked in 1 Samuel chapter 15 and insisted that he was right in his error. So are we like Jonah? I've pointed out some positive things about Jonah, and some negative things too. Which qualities did Jonah have that we have? And what lessons can we learn from that story to improve our own relationship with God? That's one question we all have to answer for ourselves. And that's the answer for, are you like Jonah? Like and subscribe if you learned something or just enjoy the video. And click the notification bell if you want to see when next I post. Have a good rest of your day.